I got this Chevy that belongs to one of my neighbor, so I'm doing an LS swap for him. We ended up customizing, just personalizing the block paint for him. I did rebuild the transmission. Transmission's already colored. We painted the valve covers. We also colored the intake manifold. And while everything was out, I ended up cleaning all this and painting it for him. So we got the back of the firewall all painted, including the fender liner, fender side. Next, we're going to try to paint this guy, clean up all this wiring, and install the tranny and the motor here. I got to clean this front timing cover, and I'm going to end up painting it and putting a new seal in here. So we'll see. And then I already painted and cleaned the water pump, power steering pump. So this cover is next. Here we go. Just got it all cleaned. Got a fresh coat of paint on it. I like this color. I think the combination will look amazing with the gold. So I'll put another coat on it when it dries and let it completely dry and assemble this tomorrow. I have all the paint dried out. So the first thing I gotta do is make sure all the mating surface has no paint. After that, I'll be installing a new oil pump, which actually is also provided by the customer. That we're going to clean both sides, put the pump back on, line it up. What you should do though, before installing the pump, is remove this, add some engine oil in it, spin the pump by hand, make sure there's oil inside the pump before you put it back together, because first crank, the pump's going to be dry, and that might not be good for it. It's all personal preference. You guys can do however you like. And we did get a gasket set that came with the motor. We're going to use as many gaskets that came with it. Most of the parts are dry, so I think we're ready to go. Got the pump connected, put a gasket in there, got the cover back on. Also had to replace the front seal, got a new seal on here. Have to clean this a little more and install the water pump. After that, I gotta go down and put in the valve cover. Then we'll start putting the engine mounts. So I got the oil pan taken out from the older motor. I got it all cleaned up. Inside I did as much as I could without wasting too much time, because customer is paying based on an hour cleaning. And we got the flywheel on, engine mount sight on, the timing cover on. Next we're going to put the oil pan and the pickup tube back on there. Secure that and then start working on the top. I have just temporarily installed the water pump so far. I'm waiting for the bolts. The customer is going to bring me some bolts for it. And we got here oil pan and the pickup tube installed. Oil pan also is missing a lot of bolts. We're going to wait for the customers to bring it to me. The valve cover and the gaskets are put on there. Water pump has its own gaskets already installed, but nothing is torqued down. Right now I'm waiting for the bolts. So today this is it. It's all needs to be done today. Tomorrow I'm gonna start and hopefully I have all the bolts. I'll torque everything down, get the transmission in the truck, and then of course slide the motor back in there. It's easier for me to slide the motor alone without the trans. So on this K1500, we ended up getting the headlights and the turn signals over here. This is what customer decided. I ended up painting his grille and the emblem. I ended up painting the color like this for the emblem. I don't know how it looks. Let's see. There we go. This is the grille. Now, after this, the fuel line was all connected. I ended up using the factory fuel line up to the fuel rail, and then ended up using 6AN braided lines to bring that up. The accessories, belts, everything is connected. Upper radiator hose, the lower radiator hose is connected. Heater cores are connected. I am using the factory reservoir tank from the 2002 Chevy Tahoe, I think it is, because it does have a bleed line right there, so I'm going to be incorporating that same. In between that, I'll put a T for the steam line right there. AC was computers mounted right there, relays there, fuse box is here. I'm working on adding the intake pipe right now. And the way I found I'm going to end up doing is bringing it down here and run underneath here, because I found a battery is going to be up top and the filters will be right under the battery or right next to it. And of course, wiring up all the internal wires that are going to run to the ignition switch. What I also got is a special start. Oh, the customer is going to do the exhaust system. He has a friend, he's going to actually make him an exhaust, so I'll leave that at it. Next I got to do is deal with all these harness for the lighting. Obviously I cannot use what this looks like right now. I'm going to have to modify all of this to work with the existing wiring that we have right now. And I think that's about it for now. I will come back here with an update. It did take a while for me to get back to you guys with the update, because I had parts that were waiting and it took me a little bit to get the parts. I'm also trying to work with customers. Some parts they were providing, some parts I was able to get. And right there, if you see the switch dropped right there, that is for the air intake temp sensor, which I will be using. I'm going to try to make a hole on the intake pipe right here and then use that one. Either I'll end up welding a aluminum tubing, or I'll just get some bunch of tubes from Spectre and cut them in length and use my own. I want to make sure the filter is as far away as from the radiator heat as possible and get as fresh air as can without getting the water. I just finished the headlight and tail and the turn signal wiring harness, as long as the horn wiring harness. This is after shedding all this unnecessary harnesses out of the way. We had simplified so much. The wiring harness now looks much better. So these right here are turn signals and the parking lights. This right here, the headlights. I just have to modify these to work with, I think it's 9005 or 9006 right here, to get another plugs. These are going to be daytime running lights. We're going to run those. All the wire has been cleaned up and ready to be plugged into the headlights itself. All the unnecessary wires gone. There were too many ground wires running through, so I was able to simplify with a larger gauge. Ran the ground closer to its plugs instead of running the ground through the looms completely, and that allowed it to be a lot more slimmer. So wiring harness right here is very simple. That's a ground that's going to connect to chassis. Now we're just going to start plugging in all the wires for the turn signals as well as for the daytime running lights. Hello everybody, I 1500 for an LS swap. It's time to do gauges and cluster for him. So he decided he liked certain colors and the gauges, so we ended up buying this cluster from NVU, and I just ended up mounting everything. Mounting is relatively easy. You just put these brackets behind, tighten these bolts, and then all the plugs that come out of each gauge, the instruction manual will tell you which plug you need to connect the temperature and the fuel to. And if you want to connect the voltage and other one too, you plug them in there. Then what they give you is these pre-wired plugs, and you have to connect these behind and wire these plugs into the car. Right now I just finished mounting the gauges and I ended up getting the wiring instructions from the vehicle through ALLDATA, and I'm going to try to wire this into the car. We also have wire harness that came from LS Swap that has some of the wirings in it that will be used to send signals to all the stuff. Here is the instructions they give you. This is the for the colors, sorry about that. And this right here will show you where to connect the fuel temperature, volt, and oil pressure gauge. Right. Right now I have the wire harness right here from the LS ECU that I need to wire in, and rest of the stuff would be taken from here. I'll be taking the turn signals, the headlight warnings, and power and ground from this plug. I'm gonna take that one. Mount right here. Let's see how it looks. It looks to me like I have to cut the back plate off because the gauges are a little bit too big and they do not fit behind it. So I'm gonna have to cut that panel off, and that'll give me access to the wires behind for that plug too.